Bonjour classe, bonjour, rebonjour. Just a quick review. We're going to review a couple of things in this video. The first thing we're going to review is savoir and connaître, which both mean what? Quoi? Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire savoir? Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire connaître? Et voilà. Connaître, ça veut dire to know, et savoir, ça veut dire to know. But il y a des différents degrés de connaissance. So there's different degrees of knowledge. Again, I mentioned that we were talking about like a Leonardo DiCaprio type movie. It's kind of crazy to think about it that way. But savoir and connaître both mean the same thing. They just are different degrees of the same thing. So savoir means to know, and it means to know factual information. Also means to know specific, like how-tos, how to do things. Madame Dignon, moi, je sais parler français. Je sais parler français. Lee sait jouer au baseball. Oui. Chase sait chanter. Oui. Il y a quelqu'un dans la classe qui sait jouer au basketball. Catherine, elle sait jouer au volleyball. Okay, so we know how to do certain things. So let's look at this Quizlet really quick. I'm going to scoot it over just a little bit so that you guys can still see. But just out of curiosity, let's see if we can figure this one out. Here we go. Perfect. Je blank que Shakespeare a écrit des pièces de théâtre. Okay, the first thing I want you to look at is this que here. Is que a question word? Oui, it's a question word. Okay, so if there's a question word that follows the savoir or connaître, you know you're going to use savoir because that's always followed by, or it can be always followed by a question word. So the answer to this one is je sais que Shakespeare a écrit des pièces de théâtre. I know that Shakespeare wrote pieces of theater. Okay, so je sais. Je sais. Okay, the next one. Il ne blanque pas la réponse correcte. Il ne blanque pas la réponse correcte. Okay, so here are we asking for if he knows a person? Are we saying that he doesn't know a person? No, because remember connaître has to do with knowledge of people or the existence of people. Okay, in this we're talking about la réponse correcte. La réponse correcte, that would be the correct response. So is this factual information or is this knowledge of facts or is this knowledge of people, places, or things? Okay, let's look. Il ne sait pas. It's a factual information question. Il ne sait pas la réponse correcte. He does not know the correct response. And because this is a factual information, this is why we're using savoir. All right? Nous blank lire en italien. Nous blank lire en italien. Okay, lire is what you would do with a book. I'm reading a book. Okay, I'm reading a book. So lire is to read. En italien would be to read in what language? En italien. Okay, so would this be savoir or would this be connaître? Connaître is the knowledge of people, places, or things. Okay, so if I'm talking about how to do something, if it's a how-to, I'm going to use savoir. So the conjugation for savoir in the new form is savons. Nous savons lire en italien. Nous savons lire en italien. We know how to read in Italian. We'll just do a couple more of these. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. The next one is je blank bien les États-Unis. Les États-Unis being the United States. Je blank bien les États-Unis. So if it's les États-Unis, this is a place. It's a place. So automatically you know that we're going to use not savoir, but rather connaître. And the proper conjugation for connaître in the je form is connais. Je connais bien les États-Unis. I know well the United States. I know the United States well. Okay? Let's see here. This is a thing. Les sculptures de Rodin. I'm sorry. The question is asking blank to les sculptures de Rodin. Blank to les sculptures de Rodin. Rodin being, by the way, my favorite French artist ever. But moving on, if we're asking if you know the Rodin sculptures, this is the thing. Do you know of them? Do you know of their existence? So in this case, we're going to use connaître. So it should be connais-tu les sculptures de Rodin? Connais-tu les sculptures de Rodin? Eh oui, Madame Vignon, moi je les connais. I know them well. I love them. Je les connais bien. I love them. Love, love, love. They're beautiful. Okay? And then, let's see here. This next one, last one we'll do is Tom blank l'œuvre de ce peintre italien. Tom knows the works of this Italian painting. Okay? So the back of this would be connaît. Il connaît. Okay, so he knows of them. He knows their existence. Okay? All right, so that's the review for savoir and connaître. I want you to remember them in imparfait and remember them in passé composé. If we pull up a sticky note here really quick, I'll open up a new one. And remember that the past participle for savoir is su. And the past participle for connaître is connu. Okay? And savoir and connaître both take avoir in the past participle. They are not Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp verbs. Okay? We want to make sure that we remember that they are regular, however. So, for instance, in the imparfait, we would take savons. We would drop that O and S, and then we would add our imparfait endings. So, savait, 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 pardon. Savait, savait, savait. And then savions, saviez, and then savait, A-I-E-N-T. All right? Let's move on. Actually, connaître as well. We'll do that. Connaissons. I'm going to drop this ONS endings, and that becomes my stem for imparfait. Okay? So these are the passé composé, and these are the imparfait. And remember that when we're talking about the imparfait, we're talking about habitual actions in the past. Savoir and connaître in the passé composé are moments in time that have passed. Right? But now we're going to talk about passé recent, the passé recent, the recent past, the passé immédiat, immediate past. What happened au moment qu'on parle. Au moment où on parle. At the moment of our speaking. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So let's get a review really quick on the verb venir. Remember the verb venir in the passé composé is, the verb venir in the present tense, my fault. Excuse me. Venir in the present tense. Je viens, tu viens, il vient, elle vient, and on vient. They always forget on. I don't know why. Nous venons, vous venez, and ils viennent. Nous venons, vous venez, and ils viennent. And these are the present tense conjugations for the verb venir. When you're doing the passé recent, there are 3 steps to the passé recent. And the passé récent has, the first step is to conjugate venir in the present tense, okay? We're going to find the venir in the present tense right over here, okay? Then what we're going to do is add the preposition de or des apostrophe. And if you can remember, don't forget, des apostrophe is there for when our verb that follows, the infinitive verb that follows, begins with a vowel or a silent H, okay? Last but not least, the last step for the passé recent is the infinitive verb, okay? The infinitive verb, and that is what was actually going to take that past tense form. So we've got conjugate venir in the present tense, add our de, and then add our infinitive verb. An example would be, oh, forget it. The example would be, je viens de manger. I just ate. I just ate, which is not necessarily the truth, because I do have some yummy, tasty, delicious snacks here that I do actually plan on eating at some point or another. I'm going to go for the apple. Fear not, I'm going to go for the apple. Totally going for this. Okay, so je viens de manger. I just ate, okay? The verb venir does mean to come. I'm going to get rid of myself for just a minute. The verb venir does mean to come. And so in the passé composé, the verb venir will take être. It is a Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp verb, as is its related verbs known as devenir and revenir. Devenir and revenir are also Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp verbs. So we want to make sure to remember that those guys also take être in the passé composé. However, there are 3 other verbs that do not, but they are still related to the verb venir. They are the verb tenir, which means to hold, maintenir, which means to maintain, and then retenir means to keep, to retain, or remember. Okay? And these guys all take avoir in the passé composé. Okay, I know it's a lot of craziness to remember, but we're doing tons and tons of activities. And then when you come in next week, we'll actually be doing something really nifty with it all. I think it's nifty. You guys may not. I don't know, but we'll see. I'll try and do it as fun as possible. Okay? Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so we've got venir. We've got, I wanted to go over the workbook pages with you guys because I know you guys are freaking out about the workbook pages. So let's go over those really quick. Here's the first one. Actually, I think this one is the second one. This was the first one. Okay. Here is the first exercise that you guys had to do today in your workbook. I'm going to minimize this so that I can get a hold of it. Here we go. All right. This first phrase here, and this is in your workbook, page 17, la page 17. La paragraphe, il dit, quand j'étais plus jeune, when I was younger, quand j'étais plus jeune, je blanque souvent rendre visite à mes grands-parents. Okay, so I would come to visit often my grandparents that lived, qui habitent à côté du campus. Okay, so here I want to say that when I was young, this is a broad period of time, a very imperfect period of time. I'm going to use imparfait here. Je venais souvent rendre visite à mes grands-parents. Je venais souvent visite à mes grands-parents. Number 2 says, il blank me cherchait à la gare et on allait faire une promenade sur le campus. So they would come to visit me or to pick me up at the train station, and then we would take a walk on campus. Okay, so here's the deal with venir in this tense. It would be venez in still the imparfait, because we're still talking about that imperfect point in time that they came to get him every year at the train station. However, in section number 3, or question number 3, it says, un jour, je blanque en voiture. So one day, I came by car. So instead of them picking him up at the train station, he came by car. So we would say, je suis venu. Okay, and if it was a girl, what would we do? There we go. Je suis venu en voiture. Okay, so and one day I came by car. And then it says that I had just purchased my car. I had just purchased my first car. Je blank acheté ma première voiture. So this is my first car that I had purchased at that time, during the time that I would come to visit them. In this case, I know it's going to be crazy, I would have accepted, because we haven't really gone over imperfect passé recent, but I would have accepted 2 things. One, you could have said, je viens d'acheter. You could have said that. Or you could actually also say that I had just purchased, meaning that it had just happened when I came by car. And so we would use the imperfect tense here. Je venais d'acheter. I had just purchased my first car. Cette année, avant de venir, before coming to study at the university, j'ai décidé d'habiter chez mes grands-parents. I decided to live at my grandparents. Le problème, c'était qu'il venait de transformer mon ancienne chambre en salle de gym. Okay, so there was a problem. It said, le problème, c'était que at the time that I was deciding to come to visit with my grandparents, they had just transformed. You could have also said, again, because we haven't gone over imperfect passé récent, qu'ils viennent de. You could have said one of those two. Il vient de transformer mon ancienne chambre en salle de gym. They transformed his room into a gym. What kind of grandparents do that? I'm just kidding. Probably mine would have. Okay, so here we go. Maintenant, je blank aménager ma résidence universitaire. So now you see that word maintenant? Maintenant means now. Now we're talking about the present tense. So this is where we're getting into the present tense here. Maintenant, je viens déménager. I just moved into my university residence, and mes amis et moi, nous venons les voir souvent, and my friends and I go to see them often. Okay? All right, so that's that for this exercise. This one was something that we would have used the infinitive form, you would have used the present tense, the passé composé, or the imparfait. This was not easy. Don't worry. It's okay. But hopefully this will help explain it to you. Okay? All right, let's move on to the next exercise, which is this one here. Let me make this a little smaller. This one was really super duper easy. Only because it was just plain out passé recent. So Sonia vient de manger une salade. Done. Elle vient de manger une salade. Vous venez, I'm going to change something up. Vous venez d'acheter des fruits. Okay. Okay, you could have changed this up as well. Let's see here. Tu viens de manger des fruits de mer. Okay, so you just ate some seafood. And then last but not least, Thomas et Sylvia viennent de manger du poulet. Okay? And so that was that. Last one here is, you know what? I'm going to let you guys go over this one. I want you guys to finish this last one on page 17 on your own. We'll go over this one in class. Okay, let's go over this one in class because this one actually involves venir, venir de, devenir, revenir, or tenir. So it could be all of them. We'll go over this one together in class. All right? Okay, last but most certainly not least, has to do with three words that we find on page 63. Okay, page 63 talks about something called depuis, pendant, il y a, and it has to do with time. These three are super duper important only because they talk about specific things with regards to time. The first word that I'm going to give you is depuis. And I'm going to open this up for you, make it a little larger. Depuis indique l'origine d'une action ou d'une situation toujours actuelle. Okay, so depuis indicates the origin of an action or a situation that is still ongoing. Give you an example. Je suis professeur depuis 1981. 1981. So this says that I am a teacher since 1981. It's still ongoing. Okay? And it also gives you the origin of the action. Okay? Here's another one. Je suis professeur depuis 15 ans. Je suis professeur depuis 15 ans. That means I've been a professor since 15 years. I've been a professor for 15 years. Depuis. This last one you can't really see very well, but it says J'habite à Paris depuis 6 mois. J'habite à Paris depuis 6 mois. So I live in Paris for 6 months. I've been in Paris for 6 months. I've lived here for 6 months. It indicates a situation that's still ongoing. Okay? So this is a chronological order. All right, so that is what depuis means. Depuis means since, and it indicates a time that is either still ongoing or it's the origination of the action. Cool? All right, let's move on to the next one. Depuis, let's move down to pendant. Pendant is an important one. Pendant indicates the duration of an action, okay? And we want to look at the duration in its globality, the global sense. So for instance, we say pendant here. Example is hier, il a plu pendant 5 heures. Yesterday, it rained for 5 hours. Hier, il a plu pendant 5 heures. It rained for 5 hours. Another one, it says, exemple, le matin, je me brosse les dents, I brush my teeth pendant 5 minutes. So I brush my teeth for 5 minutes. It's a duration of an action. Okay, and we're talking about the globality of the action. So the fullness of the action, we're going to use pendant to indicate that. And that means for. Pendant equals for. So hier, il a plu pendant 5 heures. It rained for 4 hours. Exemple 2, le matin, je me brosse les dents pour 5 minutes. Pendant 5 minutes. So I brush my teeth for 5 minutes. Those teeth better be clean. Don't forget to floss. Moving on. Okay, then we talk about another one called il y a. Okay, you guys have heard of il y a before, right? Il y a. Il y a is an event in the past. Okay, it's a chronological event in the past, and it means ago. Ago. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples here. Je l'ai rencontré à l'école il y a 10 ans. I met him at school 10 years ago. Il y a 10 ans. When we're talking about time with the words pendant, depuis, and il y a, we're talking about time and we're saying I've been a teacher since 1981. It rained for 5 minutes and I met him 10 years ago. All right, so those are our main ones. There's a few others that we're going to add in. I'm not going to go into them on this video because our book actually doesn't go into them just yet, but it's okay. Here's my second example. It says, il y a 10 minutes que je suis ici. Okay, there has been 10 minutes. I've been here for 10 minutes. I arrived 10 minutes ago is what we're saying. Okay, all right. So this is it for now. Okay, there's nothing humongous going on. Just answer the questions that have passed, which you should have already done. Otherwise, you wouldn't be right here. Okay, and then we will go over and do some extra exercises. Okay, I don't want you to worry about doing any worksheets and workbook stuff or anything. Watch the video, answer the questions, and I will pull up your responses on Monday. If you have any questions, email me as soon as possible. I'm actually probably going to be out of pocket. I'm probably going to be out of pocket on Saturday. I have something with my family going on Saturday, but I'll do the best I can to kind of sneak in, checking my email on my phone. You know I will. But please feel free to email me anytime. Merci beaucoup pour votre attention. Je sais que ce vidéo est très long. Je suis désolée. Pardonnez-moi. Mais merci beaucoup et à lundi. Au revoir.